The morning Sarah started acting differently, I knew something fundamental had shifted in our marriage. It wasn't dramatic at first, just small things that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. She'd angle her phone away when texting, something she'd never done in our 8 years together. When I'd walk into a room, she'd quickly switch apps or slide her phone under a pillow. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe work stress was getting to me. Maybe I was projecting my own anxieties onto innocent behavior. But then came the financial questions. Sarah, who had always been content with our separate accounts and occasional joint expenses, suddenly developed an intense interest in combining everything. It would just be easier, she'd say over dinner, pushing her food around her plate. Other couples do it. Why shouldn't we trust each other completely? The way she said trust made my stomach turn. It was loaded, heavy with something I couldn't quite identify. I'd built my business from nothing. 12-hour days, working weekends, missing family gatherings, all to create something substantial. The house we lived in, the cars we drove, the comfortable life we enjoyed. I'd earned every penny of it before we even met. Sarah had her own career, her own money. We'd always kept things separate by mutual agreement. So why now? Why this sudden push for financial unity? The questions kept coming, each more persistent than the last. She'd bring up the topic at odd moments while brushing our teeth, during commercial breaks, right before bed when I was too tired to argue. Don't you think it's weird that we're married but keep our money separate? She'd ask. What are you hiding from me? That accusation stung. I wasn't hiding anything. I just believed in maintaining some independence, even in marriage. Then she started leaving browser tabs open on our shared laptop articles about marital assets, community property laws, how assets get divided in divorce. When I asked about them, she laughed it off. Just curious about financial planning, she said. But her laugh was hollow, rehearsed. She'd never shown interest in financial planning before. Not once in 8 years. Her behavior became increasingly erratic. She'd go to book club twice a week, but never brought home any books. Her gym sessions stretched to 3 hours. But she'd come home looking fresh, makeup intact. When I suggested joining her at the gym, she said she preferred working out alone, needed that me time to decompress. Everything had an explanation, each one perfectly reasonable on its own. Together, they painted a picture I didn't want to see. The conversation that changed everything happened on a Thursday evening. Sarah thought I was at my weekly poker game, but I'd come home early with a headache. I was about to announce myself when I heard her on the phone in our bedroom, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. No, Jake, listen to me, she was saying. I need at least 2 more weeks. He has no idea, and I need him completely blindsided. The lawyer said if I can get him to combine accounts first, it'll be much easier. Otherwise, I'm looking at maybe getting the house and half his business assets, but that's it. My blood turned to ice. Jake? Who was Jake? And lawyer? What lawyer? I know, baby, I know, she continued, and the endearment made me physically sick. Once this is over, we can finally be together properly. No more sneaking around. Just a few more weeks of pretending, and then I'll take him for everything he's worth. The house alone is worth $800,000. Add in his business, his savings, his investment accounts. We're set for life. I stood frozen in the hallway, my hand gripping the wall for support. 8 years. 8 years of marriage, and she was planning to destroy me. Not just leave me, destroy me financially and walk away with everything I'd built. The spousal support alone will be substantial, she continued, and I could hear the smile in her voice. My lawyer says with the income disparity, I could get payments for at least 5 years. Maybe longer if I play my cards right. I just need to keep him unsuspecting a little longer. I backed away slowly, my mind racing. Every instinct screamed at me to confront her, to burst into that room and demand answers. But something, maybe survival instinct, maybe intelligence, held me back. If she was planning this carefully, if she had a lawyer and a strategy, then confronting her would only accelerate her timeline. I needed to be smart, smarter than her, smarter than Jake, whoever he was. I slipped out of the house and sat in my car for an hour, hands shaking. Then I called Marcus, my best friend since college, who happened to be one of the best divorce attorneys in the state. I need to see you, I said. Tonight. It's an emergency. Marcus took one look at my face and poured us both a scotch. I told him everything, the secretive behavior, the financial questions, the overheard conversation. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing grimmer with each detail. When I finished, he set down his glass and leaned forward. How much time do you think you have before she files? 2 weeks, I said. Maybe less. She said she needed 2 more weeks on the phone. Marcus's advice was brutal but necessary. You need to protect your assets immediately, he said. Every second counts. She's clearly been planning this for a while, probably has her paperwork ready to file. The fact that she's trying to get you to combine accounts tells me her lawyer has told her she doesn't have a strong claim to your premarital assets. Can I just empty the accounts? Move everything? I asked. Not exactly, Marcus said. That would look like hiding assets, which courts frown upon. But there are legal ways to protect what's yours. The house. For instance, you bought that before marriage, right? I nodded. 3 years before we met. It's entirely in my name. Good. We can transfer that to an irrevocable trust. Same with your business assets, your investment accounts. We'll put your mother as the trustee. Completely legal, but it takes those assets off the table for division. Once they're in the trust, they're no longer marital property to be divided. The next morning, I began the most important financial moves of my life. I met with Marcus's recommended estate attorney, who drew up the trust documents. My mother, God bless her, didn't ask questions when I explained I needed her help. She'd never liked Sarah anyway, mother's intuition. she'd called it. The asset transfer was swift and surgical. The house went into the trust first, followed by my business holdings, investment accounts, savings accounts, everything except a checking account with enough money to maintain appearances, all moved into the protective embrace of the irrevocable trust. Each document was dated, notarized, and filed. Legal. Bulletproof. Done. Meanwhile, I had to maintain the charade at home. Sarah continued her pushing about combined accounts, and I played dumb, saying I'd think about it. Maybe we should talk to a financial advisor first. She'd get frustrated, but then force a smile. Of course, honey. Whatever you think is best. The fake sweetness in her voice made my skin crawl. I also did some investigating of my own. Jake, it turned out, was Jacob Morrison from her marketing firm. Divorced, 2 kids, reputation for going after married women. He'd been at the company for a year, right around when Sarah's behavior started changing. Their LinkedIn profiles showed they'd attended several of the same professional development conferences. I wondered how much professional development happened in those hotel rooms. 10 days after that overheard conversation, I came home to find Sarah unusually cheerful. She'd cooked my favorite meal, opened an expensive bottle of wine. I've been thinking, she said over dinner. Maybe you're right about the accounts. Maybe we should keep things as they are. Her sudden reversal should have been a relief, but it only made me more suspicious. Then I understood she'd given up on the combining accounts strategy, which meant she was ready to file. The clock wasn't just ticking, it was about to run out. Sure enough, exactly 2 weeks after that phone call, I was served with divorce papers at my office. The process server looked apologetic as I signed for them. I opened the envelope with steady hands, though my heart was pounding. She was seeking equitable distribution of all marital assets, the house, spousal support, and half of my business valued at $1.2 million. I called Marcus immediately. She filed, I said. Perfect timing, he replied. Everything's been in the trust for 2 weeks. She's about to get the surprise of her life. The mediation was scheduled for 3 weeks later. During that time, Sarah maintained residence in our house, now technically my mother's house, acting like she'd already won. She'd make comments about redecorating once I was gone, about how Jake had great ideas for the home office. The audacity was breathtaking. I also started gathering evidence. Our phone records showed hundreds of texts and calls to Jake's number going back 8 months. Credit card statements revealed charges at hotels during her supposed book club nights. The gym membership she'd insisted on paying for herself? It was across town, 5 minutes from Jake's apartment. The day of mediation arrived gray and drizzly, matching the mood perfectly. Sarah walked in with her lawyer, wearing a new designer suit I'd never seen before, probably bought in anticipation of her big payday. She avoided eye contact with me but couldn't hide a small smirk. She thought she'd already won. Her lawyer, a shark named Peterson known for aggressive tactics, came out swinging. My client is entitled to half of all marital assets, including the marital home, business assets accumulated during the marriage, and substantial spousal support given the income disparity. Marcus smiled, actually smiled. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding about the available assets. He slid a folder across the table. As you'll see, the house in question is held in an irrevocable trust, transferred 2 weeks before your client filed. The business assets are similarly protected. As for marital assets accumulated during the marriage, that would be the joint checking account with a current balance of $1,247. The color drained from Sarah's face. Peterson flipped through the documents, his expression darkening with each page. When were these transfers made? All completely legal and above board, Marcus said smoothly. The transfers were made before any divorce filing, which my client had no knowledge was coming. He was simply engaged in routine estate planning. Unless, of course, your client had informed him of her intention to divorce beforehand. Sarah's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He knew. He must have known. This is fraud. He's hiding assets. Can you prove he knew about your intention to divorce? Marcus asked calmly. Because we have evidence suggesting this divorce came as a complete surprise to my client. In fact, we have evidence that your client was actively deceiving him about the state of their marriage while planning this divorce with her boyfriend, Jacob Morrison. At Jake's name, Sarah went white. Peterson looked at her sharply. Who is Jacob Morrison? Marcus pulled out another folder. Mr. Morrison is your client's colleague and, according to these phone records and credit card statements, her affair partner for the past 8 months. Would you like to hear the transcript of a conversation where your client discusses taking my client for, quote, everything he's worth? The mediation fell apart after that. Peterson requested a recess, during which we could hear him and Sarah arguing in the hallway. When they returned, Peterson's entire demeanor had changed. What's your offer? He asked quietly. She gets her personal belongings, her car, which is in her name, and her own retirement accounts, Marcus said. No spousal support. She waives all claims to any other assets. The divorce is finalized immediately. Sarah looked like she'd been punched. That's nothing. I get nothing. You get a quick, quiet divorce, Marcus said. Or we can go to trial, where all of this evidence becomes public record. Your choice. Sarah took the deal. What choice did she have? The story spread anyway, these things always do. Her friends, our mutual friends, learned about her affair, her calculated plan to destroy me financially. The symphony of support she'd expected turned into a chorus of condemnation. Even her own sister called her actions disgusting. Jake, the grand romance she'd thrown away her marriage for, disappeared the moment he learned she wasn't getting a windfall. Apparently, his interest in her was directly proportional to her expected divorce settlement. She'd lost everything for a man who only wanted her for my money. The house felt different after she left. Lighter, cleaner, like opening windows after a long illness. My mother officially transferred the trust assets back to me once the divorce was final, though she joked about keeping the house. I did always like that kitchen, she said, winking. 6 months later, I heard through the grapevine that Sarah had moved to another city, starting over. Jake had already moved on to another married woman at their company. As for me, I learned to trust my instincts, to pay attention to those small warning signs, and to protect what I'd built. Sometimes, when I'm sitting in my home office, the one Jake had such great ideas for, I think about that Thursday evening when I came home early with a headache. Such a small thing, a headache, but it saved everything I'd worked for. Sarah had planned everything perfectly, except for one crucial detail. She'd assumed I'd never suspect her. That overconfidence was her downfall. Trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. But sometimes, that's not a tragedy. Sometimes, it's liberation.